All right, then we will get started. All right, so welcome to our 10th session of Conversations about BELF. Thank you very much. What we wanted to do today is look at what we've done so far, see what we've learned, and then just basically have some conversations without a pre-existing agenda, talk, get to know each other better, see what questions, see what issues come up. So who we are, for those of you who don't know us yet, we're a group of business English trainers interested in recent developments about BELF. Virginia, Evan, Katrine, Helen, and myself, Lucas, and we are spread all over the world, so we bring in different perspectives. Then the target group, who do we want to join us? Well, of course, it's anyone interested in English as a business, lingua franca, BELF, and its implications on language teaching and learning. So we try to connect the concepts and the theory to actual practice that will help everybody. And our aims are to encourage a conversation about BELF research and what it means for language teaching and learning in a business context. We also like to share links and resources about BELF. And so if you have research articles that you want to share with us, or if you see some interesting things on what's happening, or you want to share some of your ideas, please feel free, and we'll put it on our blog, we'll put it on our website, we'll put it in our YouTube channel, wherever it may be, and we can learn together. And we also want to promote live events about BELF, So for example, Evan and his big plenary talk and Katrine's talk at the conferences and upcoming talks, or whoever who's out there that wants to share what's coming up, we'd love to hear about it. And here is our social media. Here are different platforms. Our platforms are growing. Here's a link to our sites. All right, so now I just wanted to go back over some of the previous sessions. We started out with Dr. Anne Kankaranta, and she talked about the dynamics of teaching BELF for business interactions. And I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I highlighted an interesting part. She said, in my talk, I'll discuss the dynamics of BELF and how I and my colleagues at a Finnish business school have approached to train future business professionals. So they've combined business communication into the study to come up with good findings, and she covered that in that session. And then we had a session with Maya Kamori-Glatz, and that was conceptualizing English as a business lingua franca. And then we had a session on materials for BELF-oriented teaching. How can we make adjustments to our materials? How can we adapt them, supplement them? What are the best materials for it? And we had a session on teaching BELF communication strategies. How can our learners adjust, make adjustments, and have the best strategic approach to the BELF communication? We also did a BELF 101, understanding BELF basics, because we realized that not everyone has a background in BELF and not everyone was fully understanding what we were talking about. Then we had an interesting conversation about integrating BELF and intercultural communication in digital teaching with Dr. Kaisa Pietkinen and Dr. Mia Kamori-Glatz. And what they did is they piloted a project where their respective students in different countries came together to experience authentic intercultural BELF communication in an online negotiation. And then you might recommend this person building linguocultural competence into a business English textbook. And I talked about how a lot of textbooks have an Anglophone cultural ideology and language. And so what I wanted to do is use my research to examine how well Market Leader provided a global outlook of business English communication. And then Professor Kurt Cohn had a very interesting webinar, English Business Communication from a Lingua Franca Perspective, Issues of Agency and Emancipation. We learned a lot in that session. And an interesting takeaway from that was the question, how can their multilingual repertoires and communicative capability be exploited and further enhanced to enable them to meet the challenges of BELF surprises? And then most recently, we had BELF and standards. What are they, if there are any? And that was with Judith Matter and Rudy Kammerer. And I want to read this part at the bottom to you. BELF communication is intrinsically intercultural, and for this reason, business professionals need to be able to deal with not only multiple backgrounds and identities, but also different ways of operating or acting in multiple business cultures. So the list of skills goes far beyond language mastery, right? And so they address these questions to talk about how we can build standards into our practice.